Broadcasting. That's all that's all about. Okay. Hey, everybody. Welcome. Of course, I'm Doc G, and I've got John T. This is Doc G and John T Presents.
What is up? Hello.
We have today a man that is just, by any standards, I don't know how he did it, but he did it. He is a broadcast professional aficionado. Other broadcasters bow to him. From Big Bob's Memory Lane Show. Welcome, my friend, Big Bob.
Hey, great to be here.
What is up, Bob? How are you, sir? How are you? Wow.
I don't, we're 15 seconds on the air and I'm already blushing.
You're blushing a lot. Gonna be a lot of accolades going your way. With over the affiliates, all the affiliates that you have on the Memory Lane Show, I don't even want to ask you, but I don't know. How did you even accumulate them? How did I become part of this? How did you start this?
Well, at the very beginning, I used to send out probably 15, 20 emails a week to a variety of different radio sites, asking them if they'd be interested in a genre that I had to offer and see if they would take the show. And at about a 15 and 20, you get one or two. And then after 3 months, they drop you for a different, because they're going to CW or, something like that. But as time went by, what I've noticed seriously is that people, by word of mouth, now they email me asking, hey, how can we get the show? How much do you charge for your show? When can we pick you up? Can we pick you up live? Can we do it on a replay? So that's how it's turned around. But it took 15 years to do it.
Yeah. Wait, John, don't we hear this all the time?
It's oh, you guys are great. You're the next, you're like the most recent overnight success. Yeah, since 1996, but I digress.
Bob, I've known you a long time. I've known you probably more than 10, 15, maybe 20 years at the most.
Yeah, probably.
Because when I was doing my Weekend Oldies feature show, I think that's when I met you, and then you started doing your show, or you were doing your show then before that. And I mean, you just got this great music show that everybody loves. And I got to ask you a question. Why does everybody love it? Because there's every little bit of everything in there for everybody. You have you have ratings. Tell us a little bit about your show so other people can understand what your show's about.
Right now, I can honestly say the show is, I produce. A lot of the themes and ideas come from the listeners themselves. Right. Way back when I first started, Dave G, he's an engineer over at MCBVI Radio. Right. I got an idea. I don't know if it's going to fly, but how about if you took a song and then you played the comparison cover to it? And we got a segment, Comparison Covers, that is to this day still active on the show. One-hit wonders, that wasn't my idea, someone else's idea. Themes for the show, I have probably 6 real good contributors, and they work hard at getting me some themes that kind of fit my way of thinking, if that's possible, I don't know. And they say, I got this idea. Did you ever do a show about the devil? I said, geez, oh man, I don't think so. Well, here's my idea. We play songs that have devil in the title, and call the segment, the theme, Meet the Devil. And bam, the thought is created. It needs to go to production, and that's going to hit the July 23rd show will be Meet the Devil.
Okay, sounds good. Okay.
Not by me. I can't take all the credit. I'm the voice behind the mic, but Rate the Record, that wasn't my idea. As I said, One Hit Wonder, the #1 song on this very date, back whenever, that wasn't my idea. None of it is my idea anymore because I've incorporated all their ideas. And what happens is, think about it. They tell their family, hey, that guy I was telling you about, Bob from Memory Lane, I suggested a show. He's going to do it this weekend. Tune in and hear my name mentioned. And they love it.
Well, we learned that in broadcasting, right? The more you try to reach out to people and bring them in and get them involved, they're going to listen. They're going to have other people listen. And that's why, you know, success is only what the radio station wants it to be, right? With that said, Bob, what started you out in broadcasting? What was the big one thing that got you started? And then I'll let you, Johnny, ask some questions.
Well, you know, many people don't realize, you might remember, you might know when I tell you, but you probably just don't remember. I used to do a talk radio show called Easy Help, You and More, where I had myself and 4 co-hosts. And because of the internet, I could make it sound like they were in the studio with me.
Mm-hmm.
And they would each have their own little segment. Daisy's Bozo Awards, Mystery Tramp, Just the Guy's featured website. Mystery Tramp had a segment all of himself, and Ludd had a segment all of himself too. And we did that for special guests every week. And I used to do the guests live, but later on I got smart and did it in recording, because too fancy doing it live, calling somebody at 10 o'clock in the morning on Sunday. So did it the recording part for the guests, and we had some great guests. Okay. After 10 years, I got tired of it, and the group got tired of it. They got tired of getting ideas, getting their own ideas. And I thought to myself, you know, I love music. I don't know why I wait around, get this memory lane going. I come up with a name, and I used to play it for the guys I used to work with at American Red Cross in Detroit. Every Saturday morning while they were working, I was home playing songs for them. And I'd say, hey, this song's for Billy Kay. He knows what it's all about. And I played one of his favorites, and they go nuts about it. Well, from there it grew. It grew and grew.
It's incredible. I love that story. Go ahead, John. Do you have any questions for?
No, I'm looking through here. A matter of fact, folks, if you're so inclined now, Bob, tell me if I'm wrong here, but the website looks to be Memory Lane Show, all one word, memorylaneshow.com. And I'm seeing you've got a nice cadre of affiliates. Like it looks like it's like 50 over 50. You know, I mean, we're right there. Our good friend Wade at Smoke and Bacon Radio, he's on the deal. You know, tell us about, you know, the associations with some of these radio entities, whether they're like us, like online radio, or, you know, one of the other ones. You know, how has that, you know, gone from the germ of the idea to where it is now with over 50 affiliates?
Yeah, well, you know, and the Phillies have cut back a little bit because internet radio, it's hard to compete against iHeart and Sirius and everything else.
True.
Here, especially if they can hear Memory Lane on iHeart on a on-demand day or any specific day, they may not want to get up at 9 o'clock on a Saturday morning.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, with that said, most of the, I'm trying to think now so I don't make a mistake. Most of the affiliates are internet radio.
Gotcha.
Most of them.
Yes.
There's probably maybe a half a dozen or a dozen and a half, something like that, that do Part 15 US.
Mm-hmm.
And that is local to their area, depending on their antenna. If it did go 45 miles, 90 miles radius, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And then some of them incorporate a video. I've never had an opportunity to visit their site and see what they do with video.
There's so many of them you can't. we lost John. Go ahead, Bob. Finish.
Well, what happens is that you know, once again, you know, I can't say enough of the affiliates because they're the one, and I say it every week. They're the ones that put Memory Lane on the map.
Mm-hmm.
I just steer the vehicle. They make the roads for me, and they're able to send it throughout Spain, the UK, Canada, geez, oh man, and New Zealand, Raglan, New Zealand, real good out there. And you know what? The idea of providing good music is 75% of it. 25% of it, I make friends forever. And that you can't put a dollar value.
Right about that. You know, I just want to say, when you're in your chat room, I mean, I only come in for a couple of minutes and my wife's asking me questions and I got to go. But at least I come in, I show you down there, I'm listening, I've got things going on. I'm always there, by the way. I'm not always in the chat room, but I'm always there listening. And it changes, like you said, because of the themes and the music that you have every week. And you even send it out to us affiliates if you want to play it again another time, right?
Correct.
So if you wanted to sign up, say 10 affiliates today, all they have to do is do what?
Send me an email, Big Bob's Memory Lane at gmail.com, or go to the website, like John said, Memory Lane Show. That's all one word.com. And you can get there's a contact thing there where you can contact me that way. A little short humorous story about what John said. John wasn't prompted to say that. Okay. When I used to say on the program, Memory Lane Show, all one word.com, people would say in the chat room, they just start teasing me for fun. Yeah, Memory Lane Show, all that, is that it? Memory Lane Show, and you got to type in all one word.com. So what I did was, Smarty Ulek, we call it, registered that. Memory Lane Show, all one word.com. Next time I had it and I said it and they said, is that the way? I said, yeah, exactly. Go ahead and do it in your browser and see where you're.
Wow. Wow.
That's funny.
Oh
So
my
you
goodness.
you played on their little cheeky thing that they did. That's really cool.
It not being prompted, and I don't know if you knew about this story in the past or not. This happened probably about a decade ago or so. It was very humorous, and that's the kind of stuff that you can't put a price tag on. You and I go back how many years? We don't even know.
I don't even know. I mean, I know we go back a long time, Bob, because I even told Frank, I said, God, I didn't know him till like the 2000s, and I known you way before that.
Yeah, and these friendships that you make, I've told my wife Snoopy, we can hop if we wanted to. We could hop on a plane and go to Florida, and we could look up somebody who carries the Memory Lane Show. We go to
Steve, your good friend Steve Jarrett. I got to mention him. He's in Florida,
and it's all over the United, not all over the United States. A lot of this Iowa people. I tell you now, where the heck? What is it called? It's in Iowa. It's a Park 15 and internet. He carries the show, but they're so small they put it only on the map twice a week.
Okay, however that works, that's really awesome. I do want to ask you, what was it like growing up? Where were you? You grew up in what, Detroit, you said?
Well, I actually grew up in Hamtramck.
Okay. What was that like growing up?
Oh, yeah. Well, we had Hamtramck is a small city inside of Detroit.
Oh.
Okay. And many people, it's only 2.5 square miles.
Wow, it's small.
Yeah. But it had 4 high schools and filled them all.
Wow.
And because the big 3 brought in a lot of the working people coming,
right.
They're migrating from New York, from Poland or whatever. But we would go to the Fox Theater in downtown Detroit. And I think it was about 1964. And for $2 or $2.25 per person, you could go in, stay all day, and listen to all the Motown groups, one right after the other.
Wow.
And you know something? Let me tell you something, John. We were so stupid, we didn't know what we were hearing at that time. We hang around there, and we said, Dave, if we leave, can we come back in? They said, yeah. So we go out,
sure.
Come back in. We didn't know what we were listening to. We didn't know Temptation, Supreme, Stevie Wonder, how great acts would be later on.
Well, you saw them, I'm guessing you saw them as they were just coming about, before they were a thing, so to speak. They were doing what they did and, working out their stuff. And all of a sudden, a year or 2 or 3 later, they were, bigger than Davy Crockett.
Yeah. Well, Berry Gordy used that to present his enterprise to the general public in Detroit, giving back to the public, and giving, more importantly, giving the groups stage exposure.
Right.
That paid off for him long, 300-fold, because they were now getting accustomed, playing in front of an audience, albeit their friends and family and everything else. But that wasn't the case. The goal was to get them used to being in front of somebody.
Of course.
And it was a great show. It called Motown Review.
Man, it reminds me when you say that a little bit, and I don't know if everybody's familiar with the movie. Gino, I think you are, but the movie that Tom Hanks did back in the mid-90s called That Thing You Do.
Oh,
And,
yeah.
with the Wonders, and they spelled it O-N-E, and then they nixed that, rather than the O-Neaters, and the whole thing, basically, going on that little tour of of rock and roll wonderfulness back in the early 60s, the Pittsburghs of the world, Steubenville, okay, and then doing all the state fair circuits. And it just, that kind of vibe that you just mentioned, Bob, reminds me of the vibe of that movie, to where, okay, all of a sudden these guys from, Erie, Pennsylvania, all of a sudden they've got a top 5 hit, and it was a one-hit wonders, per the script. But I mean, I can't even imagine being in the audience, and like you say, seeing the Temps, the Tops, Smokey, who else did you mention? Stevie Wonder and all those cats, doing what they do, just because they wanted to give it a shot, not because they were a household name like they are now.
And Stevie was probably, I'm going to guess, 12 or 13, maybe 11,
Sure.
12 during that time.
Yep.
And his voice sounded like a 12-year-old.
Of course.
Yeah. Yes, it did.
And I'm talking to the people that I went with, some of my friend guys, and we're saying, what is this kid doing up there? He's going. Boy, little did we know.
Yeah. Well, with that having been said, Bob, tell us some of the personalities that you've had a chance to interact with through the years. Who've been some of the ones that have really, really gotten the star for the day, so to speak?
So, man, how long is this show?
we got an hour, Bob, so you got time.
we got 40 minutes. Go ahead and go.
About a couple. There's a guy by the name of Dave G. I talk about him quite frequently. He was a heavy-duty contributor to the Memory Lane show when it first started. Well, back when I first met him, he was building a website. It was the old Round Table Radio was a radio station, and he wanted to carry Memory Lane, and I sent him all the paraphernalia I had, and he would put it in his site, and then he would call me up and say, "Hey, Bob, take a look and see what you think." Well, I was looking at it, and he had all of his other shows all centered on the page, except for Memory Lane. It was left justified. I says, Dave, I says, the only one little problem, all these other shows are centered. I don't know if you want it centered, but mine, Memory Lane, is left justified. It's all the way to the left.
Mm-hmm.
Are you sure? I says, Dave, a blind man could see this. Funny you say it, because I am blind.
Oh.
And we've been best of friends since.
Wow.
He grew up in Kalamazoo, and many a times he'd be visiting his family in Kalamazoo the same month we were going to visit our daughter in Chicago. We'd drive it right through Kalamazoo, and we'd catch up with him and his darling wife Penny, and we'd have lunch someplace, and we still do today.
Yeah.
He
Nice.
Wife Penny drove 4 hours from where they were living in Arizona to Las Vegas. Now that's something that's what friendship's all about.
Well, hello, yeah, being able to go and be with one another and do, and experience the stuff. That's
the short story a little bit better, because he also went to Michigan State School of the Blind.
Oh,
okay, and lo and behold, who his roommate was Stevie Wonder.
Oh, I'll be darned.
Amazing. Wow. That's amazing. I want to give shout outs. I have a couple shout outs. My friend Paul Vanier, is giving is watching us. He says
Boy.
you're really cool. Paul Veneer is a musician, comedy guy, everything. He's done many things with Bon Jovi, and of course my daughter DJ Danny's watching. She loves your show too. In fact, when your show is on, she's at work and she'll say, "Oh my God, I loved a lot of the songs that he played." Whether people request it, and that's the other thing we're going to talk about, the request feature. That's not a lot of people don't have a live request feature for their shows. I know a couple people that I used to do it, and I still do it every now and then. But you do it every Saturday at 9 to 12, and I love that you put requests on for people, dedications and requests.
I love dedications. I just learned a few weeks back there was a girl who listened on one of my affiliates, Nicole, and her son loves Memory Lane Show, and went on to go on. She went on to say that he loves a specific group and a specific song by that group. So what I had to do was I had to set aside time. I don't care how crunch I was, that for that show, he was going to hear his favorite group and his favorite song, and I was going to dedicate it to him.
There you go.
These are the kind of things that, what kind of dollar value do you put on that? There's no price.
You can't.
Hey,
You just can't.
give me a break.
Well, and this is the kind of thing too. I mean, we've had the chance to speak with a lot of neat folks from the early days of rock and roll. Mel Carter, Norman Fox, Larry Chance from Larry Chance and the Earls. I mean, and a lot of what these guys say is exactly what you just alluded to or just actually said, whether it's, when they're performing live or, when it's something like what we do and you do, Bob, what once was the norm is now the exception. You call a local station, or even me, I'm sitting 35 miles as the crow flies outside of New York City. So once upon a time, you could call WABC or WNBC or WMCA, the good guys, or fill in the blank station and say, hey, I'd like to hear, this song by this group. And, half an hour later, hey, I want to get this out to Big John in East Brunswick, New Jersey. Here it is, the Tokens and the Lion Sleeps Tonight, everybody, on 77 WABC. Well, you can't do that anymore. They're like, yeah, okay, thanks for calling. Click. They don't, it's not in the vernacular. It doesn't follow the consultant's formulaic mechanism. Really? Okay. Last I checked, radio was put together to serve their community. And it's whether it's, on a news story or, with Joe Bob calling in wants to hear the Tokens. What's the harm? Like you say, what is the harm? What's the price you can put on it? It is priceless. It's priceless. And to have someone like you doing, your Memory Lane program, and being able to do that. I mean, it's just so simple. I'm on the request page right now on memorylaneshow.com. Once again, all spelled out, all one word, memorylaneshow.com. And on the menu, there's right across the top, there's just hit the request, icon. And it says here, request. We don't just play singles or songs, we play memories, So there's a place, folks, where you type in what song, what artist you'd like to hear. And I got to tell you, that's the ticket, because now that's the exception, and people will remember this, and people will stick and stay with, Big Bop's Memory Lane, because you're doing that kind of a thing. Where anymore now it's go away, kid, you bother me. Even at the local level, the local stations don't really do that so much anymore. The WBCBs, out of Bucks County, Pennsylvania, for example, great station, work there. I know the guy who runs it. He does play-by-play for the Philadelphia Eagles, and he owns the radio station. And good luck trying to get a request on. Just it's a shame.
Everybody puts their priorities in some sort of bucket. A lot of the terrestrial radio, I think, is more so not knocking them, but
no,
they're on a specific genre, and they don't want to go beyond those guardrails of that genre.
Correct.
Don't know. Now, said I really don't get into, like 1990s or 2000s. I mean, I probably couldn't name 6 artists that are on.
Me too. I'm the same way.
I get it.
And,
Same way.
watch the Grammys. Snoopy and I watch the Grammys, and she'll turn to me after 20 minutes and say, "Did you recognize anybody yet?"
I know. I know, it's a heck of a thing.
But that is geared for a different age group, I guess. It's not for the seniors of the world.
Well, no. And here again, it's speaking to all these folks who we talked to recently, and that's not to say that, folks, if you're listening, that's not to say that, Hamilton radio is strictly oldies or strictly 70s or strictly talk or strictly this or strictly that. Hamilton radio has a broad brush, and, I always say, and Gino and I, we'll say, listen, if you're listening and the current song isn't totally your cup of tea, stick around for 2 minutes, because I bet you the next one is going to be right in your wheelhouse, because there's just so much. But what we're hearing, it's my question. I'm going to preface it first, Bob. What we're hearing from a lot of folks is that there are people, I don't know, 40, mid to late 30s and younger, who are discovering, or in some cases rediscovering, because maybe their parents, like me, played this stuff years ago, but they're discovering the stuff from anywhere from 1955 to 1970, or 1955 up to the British invasion. How are you finding that, when you interact with people? What are people saying or feeding back to you about that sort of a thing?
Basically the same thing, that they're not rediscovering. They've never given it a chance, and they're discovering it now. And it's great. Mm-hmm. I just think the percentage is that high yet. I think the word has to travel better, because the baby boomers, 90 or 95% of them that listened to the radio back in the 50s, 60s, 70s, they're going to like that type of music. Mm-hmm. Because it is just with them. But, I take our daughter for an example. She'll be 49, and she still listens to Memory Lane each and every week. Mm-hmm. Red. And I don't say to her, "You have to listen because your old man is playing some tunes." I thank her like I thank anybody else who's tuning in. Hey, thanks a lot for tuning in. Yeah. I hope a song that allowed you to reminisce, because you're 49, but 20 years, 30 years ago, you were 19. You're, like you said, in the wheelhouse about the 70s, 80s music. So if you got a specific group, I'll try to pop it in for you.
Well, speaking from my perspective, I am literally the very tail end of the baby boom. Okay. And, I can remember here in New York City, and we mentioned this yesterday too with Frank Todd, but New York City, WCBS FM 101.1, they came on in I'm going to say the very early 70s with an oldies format, from the 50s and early 60s, because you figure by that time, the stuff was, 10, 15 years old, and it wasn't being played on WABC or WNBC anymore. And FM music radio was really not a thing yet, but they did it. And CBS Golden 101 FM, they hung around into the 80s. And then for some reason, some corporate somebody decided that they were not just going to buff it and polish it and kind of, current it up. They just got rid of it, and they went to several other formats. Now they're back to doing a quasi oldies with some of the DJs from, say, 30 or 40 years ago in the 90s or 80s, but it ain't the same, as they say in the old neighborhood. It just ain't the same. And my son is 25, and I would love for him to stumble across the stuff from the 50s, the stuff from the early 60s, the mid 60s, the late 60s, into the early 70s, before about 75, when disco came and turned the needle a different direction. And that's okay. It's okay. I love me some disco. I love the nightlife. I like the boogie on the disco. But yes, I'm pretty fly for a 58-year-old white guy. But again, I digress. I would love for my 25-year-old and his wife to really discover this as part of what they also listen to. And it's people like that. How are you finding that, like, people who are, in their 20s and into their 30s, never mind a little older like your daughter, but even in the 20s and their 30s, what are you finding with that group?
They're hard. They're hard to give an ear to. If they give an ear and just have an open mind, I think that would suit them pretty good. But, if they're into music, they're probably choosing something that is more top 40 today.
Right.
Don't have the time or initiative to listen to anything that's older than that. But if they do, we got them. You know what I mean?
I understand.
Get them.
There's always something there to love. I mean, my like I said, my daughter's one's 28, one's 25, and the original. I just be honest with you. The original reason why I started my station was because I wanted them to know music, not just what was out on Disney. But I said, there's other artists out there. And then my one daughter she was going to talent scouts. She was singing, she was dancing. She was trying to get into the main hub. She got into Warner Records. They loved her. But because of all the schooling of all the music, any song they asked her to sing, she could just come right out and sing.
Yeah.
Most artists, what is, I never even heard that song, So there is something to learning the craft, right? Learning the songs. And that's what I wanted to ask you about. I know one of your answers are going to be, but I want you to tell our listeners anyway. What are some of your favorite groups, and what do you feel the way music is going up and down? It's usually there's nothing since 2000 something, hasn't really been any really good songs, I would say. I mean, other than independent maybe artists, but other than that, you don't even hear them. So what is your thoughts on that?
I don't know many indies that I like. I mean, I'm kind of a blank on that one, but today's music, I really don't listen to it. This is a two-part answer here. First, a short story. I don't know. What do you say? Your car has a radio that is probably $4,000. Okay. I listen to AM radio in my car. Only because I don't know if you guys ever heard of a station back in the day called CKLW.
Windsor, Ontario, CKLW. Sure. Good morning.
Well, on AM 580, they have CKWW.
Oh.
Okay. And that is a tear off from CKLW, even with the same liners.
Wow.
LW used to be the old one. CKW is the new one now.
Okay.
So on my $4,000 radio or so, whatever it is, I listen to AM radio. And that is 95% until I lose signal.
Right.
I remember them days.
Our daughter before the show, I was working on, what is today? Today's Tuesday?
Tuesday.
A new thing. She sends me a text about 8 o'clock in the morning after 2 days of rain. She lives near Joliet. They finally got blue skies. And she showed me a picture of an outline of a beautiful blue sky. She says, this is what it's all about. So I wrote her back and I says, you left the door open. I sent her a link to ELO's Mr. Blue Sky.
Yep.
I just knew you'd do it.
That's what I have to tell you. It's one of my favorites, talking about groups, and I see on your homepage that you've got the ELO, flying saucer logo right in there, front and center, where it comes in and comes out. You need to see this, folks. Again, memorylaneshow.com, MEMORYLANESHOW, memorylaneshow.com. I'm not saying it's all Cadillac Star Trek here on the website, but it's complete. It tells you best charted hits, best of the 60s and 70s, Motown, covers, history of rock and roll, the chat room, requests, greatest hits, cruising music, oldies but goodies, Billboard songs. I mean, folks, you need to check it out. MemoryLaneShow.com. And you're exactly right with these groups, Bob. There's so many.
Yeah.
So many. How do you narrow it down to even a top 10, personally speaking? It's difficult.
Because like you asked me, well, what are some of my best groups or some groups that I like? Again, we got what? Only
I know it's a hard question.
You've got
Frank couldn't answer
25
it either,
minutes,
by the
Bob.
way.
Go.
He had the Beatles and the Moody Blues, but he said there's so many he couldn't just answer. So
Yeah, I know.
I know one of yours is going to be.
a couple that come float to the top. Bob Seger and the Silver Bullet,
Absolutely.
the Doors,
Yep.
who, they definitely, there you go. They definitely go up to the top because they've had the Stones. Geez, oh
Yes,
man.
sir.
And who could be that age and still get on the stage and do what they do without oxygen? Give me a break.
What's funny about that? I just said hi to Ronnie Wood. Ronnie Wood's been an old friend of mine for years since he's been in this news, but I would love to interview him sometime. He says, yeah, sure, sometime. Okay. I'm like, okay, great, wonderful. But what's funny about that is we're in a time right now where, and even Jug Terlizzi could tell you, that you reach out and you talk to these celebrities like they're your best friends. You haven't heard from them for a long time. You see things going on in their life. They're just like you and I. They're just great people, but they've got this upper status that many of them don't have. A lot of them don't want to get on Facebook. A lot of them don't want to get on Instagram or all these. I'm not on. I mean, I'm on these different places, but I don't go to them. I don't have the time. Like you said, everything is time controlled, or getting on, even Facebook is a freaking nightmare sometimes, believe me. But we do very little on there.
Talking to them like your friends, Gil Bridges is from the Rare Earth. And back in when he's in Livonia, Michigan. He's probably 25 miles from me.
Mm-hmm.
I talked to him and do a little interview on one of my older shows, and he says, I'm playing at Frankenmuth, Michigan tomorrow before you interview me on Sunday. Now, Frankenmuth, Michigan is a little hole in a wall city that serves probably the best chicken in the world.
Oh,
and it's German. It's German slang. Best chicken. We try to visit there 6 times a year. So we go to listen to, and I brought him some T-shirts, went backstage before he got on. And I says, hey, listen, Gil, I says, is there anything that you don't want me to talk about tomorrow? Give me the do's and don'ts. He says, Bob, he says, you can ask me anything you want, and we can talk about anything you want, but don't bring up Pete Rivera. Now, don't know, Pete Rivera is the drummer.
He's the drummer, yeah. I met him several years ago.
So that tells me that there was some ill feeling between Gil and Pete. So on the show, I says to Gil, I says, well, I noticed that you were on the Rare Earth label. How did that all come about? They sang under the Motown stable.
Right. That's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember that. Yeah.
Barry Gordy wanted a white group to kind of balance out what he had going. He had a lot of black groups, but not many white groups.
Right.
So they were talking, sitting at the table, and he says, I really like you. I really like your music. I just don't think you're a good fit for the Motown label or Tamla label or Soul label. And we're trying to figure out where you're going to fit in. So Gil perks up and says, well, how about the Rare Earth label? And they start laughing. Everybody's laughing except for Barry. He says, something? I love it. And that's how it all up. It was started out as a joke, and he ended up being on the Rare Earth label.
Nice.
I got to get 2 shout outs real quick. Dave Zane from Buckingham's is saying, he's watching us and saying hi. And also Terry Draper from the original Klaatu back in the early 70s is also saying hi.
You know
So
what? That reminds me, Gene, I've got to make a few calls later, one in particular to the occupants of Interplanetary Craft when we're done here. So they are our friends, just so you know. So I'll be doing that in a little while. Love Klaatu. Thank you, Terry, for tuning in. Seriously.
we really appreciate everybody tuning in. I'm sure Terry King usually messages me during the day and will say, "Oh, I saw your interview with he saw it with Frank, and he probably going to see yours when he sees the link or whatever." But you know, when you listen, Bob, me, right? I've been doing this, like I said, 26 years. Did you ever think that you were going to be at the status you are right now?
Never, ever, ever. And really, to be honest with you, I really don't think I'm at the status you think I am.
Well, now wait a minute. Now wait a minute. You've got broadcasters that have been in the business almost 40 years. All right, looking down at you or looking up at you and saying, "How's this guy doing it? How are you killing it? How are you making them actually look up at you like you're some god?" Because that's what they look at you with. Like,
I don't think I'm there. I really don't. I think
you're
I'm
so
just
humble too. That's the other thing.
a guy who likes old time music and has been gifted in a certain way, just a little bit on presentation. And another thing a lot of people don't know about Memory Lane, it was actually a vehicle for the business.
Yeah, let's talk about that. I was going to talk about that. No, you're right. You always have to have something for people to come to see how successful you are before you can show them your business. Let's talk about your business. Easy Help, right?
Yeah, Easy Help is the name of the business. Easy Help Computers, and it gets into if you want to develop a website, I could do it or help you do it. Before you start developing a website, you got to get a domain. How you get a domain registered, what you have to do. If you got problems with your computer, well, in today's day and age, as long as you have internet access, I have a program where I can get on your computer and kind of point you in the right direction. A consultation. I got businesses call and say, "Listen, Bob, we have these old computers. We're thinking about switching them out. 5 is our budget limit. What do you think we should get?" That kind of stuff. So that's all wrapped up in Easy Help Computers. But actually, it started out as Memory Lane was going to be the vehicle to get that going. And then it happened with the stream business. You were on the stream business.
I love it. I got to be honest with everybody. I love Bob's stream because it seems like it's up 99% of the time. I don't have a lot of problem with it. And it's very, very affordable.
Yeah, it's affordable. People love it. And they're either from professionals all the way down to the Joe Blow do-it-yourselfer that just wants a little bit of a hobby. Yeah. The budget fits for both of them. But a very interesting situation occurred to me about 8 years ago or maybe 10 years ago with the business. Dave G, who I mentioned earlier in the show, is visually impaired. He started opening up the doors to other visually impaired people that wanted to get into broadcasting. And of course, he would drop my name for a service and for help and so forth. These people start flocking in. Well, today, I'm going to say about 65% of my clientele are visually impaired. And you might say, "Holy man, how do you deal with it?" Trust me, they're smarter than some people that are sighted.
Right.
When they keyboard, and I watch them because I'm on their computer, watch them. I said, "Okay, bring up your program you're talking about." I don't do it. They do it. Bam, 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 bam. And I can hear it clicking and bam, they're there. Let me show you something. I'm going to copy this over here. And they're so quick. I say, slow down a little bit. But, these folks here, they're very true to their mission. And whether it be broadcasting Christian paraphernalia or old time rock and roll or gospel, they are passionate about what they do, and they really make me feel good and helps the business too at the same time, because the visually impaired normally don't trust sighted people when it comes to business. They They would rather deal with someone who is like them, visually impaired or blind. And there's the
That makes
difference.
sense. That makes sense. That makes a lot of sense.
So,
So, go ahead, Bob.
1 second, Doc. For someone to come in and say, listen, ladies and gentlemen, Bob will take care of you. You know me, and I'm putting my reputation on the line. Bob is not going to screw you. That's all I needed for doors to open after that.
Mhm. Well, not for nothing, Gene, allow me for a moment to, again, a little gratuitous promotion of our ownership here, Bob. That's how it is here with Gino. This is why I'm affiliated with, and associated and part of Hamilton Media, Hamilton Radio, whatever, vestige of the business that it is, because yeah, we're all busy, we're all scattered, we're all spread too thin sometimes, but when the day is done, it's when it's said, this is what we're going to do, for a listener, for a group, for somebody who we're interviewing, or with them, or about them, or by them, or for them. You know what? It gets done. It's not one of these gratuitous, glad-handing things. Yeah, thanks for stopping by. We'll do everything we can for you. Hey, we'll see you another time. Goodbye now. And you walk out of there feeling great, and then nothing happens. You're just dealing with, like yourself, Bob. We're just folks doing what we do. And, we like to do what we say we're going to do. And if we don't, you better say something, because it just may be as simple as, oh, gee, right, forgot, hey, again, spread too thin. That's how we work too, Bob. And it's refreshing to know other people who basically do the same thing, whether it's yourself there or Gino here, or all of us in cahoots, so to say.
Well, when we had the last video meeting, and there was a bunch of guys that met for the first time,
Good.
And this little idea is geared for smoking bacon,
Mhm.
and talking and everything else. And I thought to myself, it'd be pretty nice to get with smoking bacon. So I sent him an email, and I says, hey, give some thoughts to Sharing the Memory Lane show. And then I went a couple weeks later, went to his website while I was on the air, and he's playing my music. And next week he's playing the Memory Lane show. And next week, and I thought to myself, something? Those guys didn't fool around.
Yeah.
They about sponsoring each other in that meeting, and Smoking Bacon did exactly what they said they were going to do. So to me, it's where I can get the gratitude from, because I can say to Docg, thank you for inviting me. You were there, I'm sure.
John
And
was there. Yeah, John's always there.
Smoking Bacon was there, and a whole bunch of other guys. I thank them all for the exposure that I had the opportunity to visualize.
Well, we're going to be doing that again, by the way, in the future, but we're not going to be doing it as much. We were doing it once a month, and it was just like John said, you're beating the dead horse over and over again. We didn't want to do that. So we're trying to come up with new ideas and new things, and we want fresher people, newer people. Not that the older people aren't bad. They're great people, but some of them are just set in their ways, and some they got something from it and moved on. Some didn't. And we've got a lot of people that we can get involved with. My friend from Cobra Kai, he wants, to get music involved. He wants extras. He wants people. I have a little judo background. So, there's a lot of different segues in one way or another that we can get involved with each other. And you're right, Bob. You really don't know until you make the phone call and you start talking it out and you say, hey, listen, because this is part of what John and I are putting together right now. And I'll just give you a little idea. It's called the Music Hub. And it's going to be for the East Coast, but we're going to include anybody that wants to be part of it. So whether we have you as a voiceover guy or a radio guy or something that's involved with the hub in one way or another, the hub can go out in all different ways. It's just that we want to be part of the hub. So we want to be in the middle of it. We don't care if other radio stations get involved. Here's the best part about that. I was going to even ask you before you leave to also give a shout out to all the radio stations that are part of the Memory Lane show that, and you have your own radio station as well. So you have to make sure that you promote everybody that's on there, because again, that's what we're all about. We're about promoting each other, working together. There are some that don't want to work together, and that's fine. That's on their own. That's what they want to do. But however, we say to them, we welcome you in if you want to be in. If you don't want to be in, you're on your own.
You know, when I first started, probably the first or second or third Memory Lane show, I didn't have many affiliates. But as they grew, my affiliate list started to grow too, as listeners grew. And I promised myself, because those people were making the show for me. They made it, not me. They made it. Right? I thank each and every one of my affiliates at least at the end of the show with the goodbye file, and play their liner throughout the course of the show at least once. Now, with that said, I have lost affiliates because of that too.
But I mean, yeah, it's professional jealousy, or some don't want, they just want to promote themselves.
It's craziest thing, they say, we don't want other radio stations mentioned while we're playing your show. Hey, have a good afternoon and enjoy your life, because that's not going to change my mind. I make sure at least throughout the course of 3 times at the top of the hours, I make sure that I thank the affiliates, especially at the close. They make me. No one else makes me. They make me, because they're the ones passing the shows, so they get to thank you.
I love that. And I really, and that's one of the reasons why I think I loved what you were doing, because you weren't afraid. Because even when I was doing my Weekend Oldies feature show, I had 4 or 5 affiliates and it was growing, but the show got to be too much with the girls and everything. But you continued on and you just created such a huge following of people. And you got to remember, every radio station has a different listening base. Yep. Sometimes, people that you find are listening there, they're not listening somewhere else. So if you're everywhere you can be, you're everywhere people can hear you. You're almost literally covering the whole planet.
Yeah, and we're advertising for everybody too at the same time.
Yeah. Oh, is that Snoopy? Hi, Snoopy.
Snoopy, tearing up my taxes from last year, I think, or something.
Well, we're almost done, Bob. But we have nothing but love for you here at Hamilton Radio with John, I'm sure. And I invite people to listen to it every week, not only here. I mean, because listen, I understand some people don't like the variety of music we play. Well, that's okay. That's fine. I mean, we play doo-wop, we play country, we play rock, we play everything. But the thing is, we play mostly 60s, 70s, and 80s. Okay. If that's their wheelhouse, then they can listen here. If they want to listen to another station like, Q Star FM or a couple other friends, that's fine. I don't have Smoking Bacon Radio. I look at it this way: as long as they listen to you, it does not matter where they listen, right?
Yeah, that's exactly right. And I get heat from listeners during my regular show. Let me play 2 country westerns in a row, and I'm going to hear an email or in the chat room, "Hey, what are you doing? You're going CW now?"
Oh boy.
Well, there's always people that rub things in like that.
Oh, yeah. Or if I take a song from 1954, a slow ballad, they'll put up the emoji that it's too slow for them already.
It's you can't please everybody all the time, but if you can please a lot of people a goodly amount of the time, then that's where it is. And even too, with mentioning the radio stations, one of the first things comes to mind all those years that Casey Kasem every Sunday would say, "You're listening to American Top 40 on great stations like blah 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 out of this town, yada 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 out of this city, and blue 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 out of this place." What's the problem? What's the problem? There's no problem. You know what? If out of 1,000 people, you got one person who, once again, as they say in the old neighborhood, gets their nose all bent out of joint, then you know what? Maybe that one person, they need to smarten up a little bit or do something else. Nothing, no malice, no anger, but just do your thing.
Yeah, I think I'm not offended by that, and I think because they just want to get my goat a little bit. Because
enough of that.
No. They know then I will reciprocate by playing something they like. And and I'll say, okay, so that was a little bit too slow for you, whoever you are. Here's one that I know you'll enjoy. And I stick in something like from Jerry Lee Lewis.
Right.
They'll get them rocking. But no one is really taken as an insult or anything like that. That group has been with me for 14 years in his chat room, and come in and say something bad about me, and you got a fight on your hands. You know?
First of all, don't do that. I mean, time and place, and that's neither. You know, it really isn't. If you've got something on your mind, if you've got an onion to peel, get a hold of us, get a hold of me or you or who individually, and we'll talk about it. You know, I used to be the first one to poke the bear or respond, shall we say, immediately when I was poked, but anymore, it's like, that's enough already, you know? Okay, yeah, got it. Thanks for calling, or thanks for, listening. Okay, very good. Yeah, that's right. That's right. 1 + 1 does equal 5, sir. You're exactly right. Okay, bye-bye now.
You mellow out with age.
I'm sorry, say it again, please, Bob.
You mellow out with age.
Yeah.
Yeah. I agree with that. Yeah.
Bothered the heck out of me 40 years ago. I just don't. I shake my head and continue on.
Exactly. Just shake my head, roll my eyes, and what's next, or just, again, agree with them. Oh, really? 2 + 2 is 17? You know what? You're exactly right. Have a great day.
I'll go on record right now and say when I listen every week, there's nothing that I don't want to hear. I mean, either everything that you have that I play anyway, or there may be something that's really, a novelty song that I'm like, oh, I haven't heard that in years. And I remember I have it, but I don't play it. So you bring back a lot of memories to me, and hence the Memory Lane show. But there is absolutely nothing that you play that I don't want to hear.
Great. Well, and what happens is different people are fond of different things and have more of a broad acceptance to it. Some people are a little bit more tunnel vision, and they just want to hear rock, 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 rock. I say, hey, listen, this song coming, I'm warning you now. If you want to make a sandwich, go get a sandwich. But this favorite person or your loved one for friends, because this is it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, by the way, you just said that Freddie Fender Jr. is watching us, and he just gave you the thumbs up. He and Kimberly Boyden, a friend of ours, that she has a show, a podcast. But Freddie Fender Jr., I mean, Freddie Fender was a big country Western music artist, I think in the 70s.
Yeah.
And I think he did Before the Teardrops Fall was one song and stuff. But what an amazing artist. But, you're talking about no country, and here's a guy that, grew up in country.
And what do you do with the songs that were crossovers?
You play them.
Well, that's my point. What do you do with the Islands in the Stream? That's like any Kenny Rogers songs,
A month ago about just specifically crossovers, that they were hits both in the Hot 100 and Country West. And there were songs.
Yeah.
Nitty Gritty Dirt Band. I mean, you can go on and on. Bellamy Brothers. There's a lot of different crossovers that you're like, oh my God, that's a country act. I mean, we're going to actually, Jimmy Deal and I are going to be interviewing the Stadler Brothers. And the Stadler Brothers were country, but they were also pop.
Flowers Wall.
Doesn't bother me at all.
So guys, we've come to the point where we're ending our show. I hate to see you go, Bob, because I appreciate the time. We had so much fun.
Gino, tell us when we can hear the program here on.
Well, I'm gonna let Bob do that, but I also want to ask him too, if he wants to, if you can do a sweeper for the show and the station, and basically just say who you are and your Memory Lane show. And you've done it before me years ago. Just say you're listening to the Docg and John T presents on Hamilton Radio.
If you'd be so kind to send me an email, because my memory is with Memory Lane, and my real memory ain't worth a darn.
Okay, that's fine. I'll do that. No problem. But anyway, you can hear Bob on Hamilton Radio, hamiltonradio.net, Smoking Bacon Radio, by listening on Saturdays at 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. And of course, you can go into the memorylaneshow.com and go into a chat room and say hi to Bob. Bob's always there. And Bob, if Bob's not there, somebody else will be there.
Brother Steve takes over from time to time.
And we got to listen. We got to give a shout to Steve. Steve's been a good friend of mine for many, many years too.
Oh yeah.
And he's just a wonderful guy.
You know, when I think back, and really short here, because I know we're almost out of time, you know, I've called him up on a Friday night because I come down with something and he's taken over the show like he had it planned for months.
Nice.
Well, he's just that type of guy. I mean, him and I, just be honest with you, him and I used to, like, if I went on vacation, I would say, hey, play Q-Star for a while on Hamilton radio. So this way, if something happens to the server or the electric goes out or something like that, at least my people will be entertained for a couple of days. And he did the same for me. So I said, okay, sure, no problem. I'm no problem to work with people all the time, especially businesses like businesses. And I don't mind sharing anything with anybody as long as they want to share it. Some don't, like you said, there's professional jealousy there or whatever reason there is. That's fine, but that's on them. At least one thing you could say, Bob, at least they tried you, you know, and they put you on their format. And if they decided to stay, great. They decided to leave, still great, because you've got other people that are going to probably bring you on again.
Exactly right. Just keep on rolling.
There you go. So again, thanks for being here. Go ahead. What's that, Bob?
And rocking and rolling.
Rocking and rolling.
Yes,
And I love
yes,
that little
yes.
dance thing he does at the end too. That's a real cool thing. He plays all these different weird
Oh,
artists
those
out
are
here all the time.
rock out.
Rock out. Yeah. It's really, really cool.
Yeah.
So Bob, thanks again for being here. And John, anything last you want to say?
Just
there, Bob?
again, just wrapping it up with a nice pretty bow. It's memorylaneshow.com. All one word again, spelled out, memorylaneshow.com. And not for anything, you know, when it comes to easy assistance, actually easy help, where your computer situation is concerned, you want to log on to two letters, to easyhelp.org, easyhelp.org. And last but certainly not least, to hear all of this wonderfulness, all you need to do is go to iheart.com and search for Hamilton Radio Oldies. That's our official name on iHeart. But we're not just oldies, but we're a lot of great classics. Go to iHeart.com and do the search for Hamilton Radio Oldies. Ta-da!
Hey, Docg, thank you very much. I appreciate the opportunity to brag a little bit, you know.
You need
Of
to once
course.
in a while. Sure, you
Of
have to.
course. Everybody loves to talk about their baby, of course.
Be proud of what you created, and be proud of where you're going. And even if it doesn't, you know, go even any further, look what you accomplished. Your accomplishments are amazing. Like I said, broadcasters look up to you that have been in the business 40 years. I mean, that to me, that says something to people.
Yeah. That's an alone appreciation.
God bless you, man. Keep up the good work. We'll listen to you on Saturday, and
Thank you,
we'll
Bob.
be in touch.
Thank you, John. Thank you, Doc.
You've
Thank
got
you,
it.
my friend. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
See ya.
Well, John, here you go. What a great guy.
Another hour of musical wonderfulness in the can. I'm going to call FedEx and have it delivered to the Museum of Broadcasting here as soon as possible. And you know, you can check us out whenever you want to. We'll post it on our pages, and I'm looking forward to hearing you know, the Big Bob's rock and roll memory lane.
Yeah, it's wonderful.
Memory lane.
My friend Kimberly Boynton just says, I grew up with the Rat Pack and the good music. Now they have a genre called hick hop. I don't know what the hell that means, but okay. Anyway, John, thanks for being here. Another great
Thank you,
show.
Gino. No
And,
doubt.
like I said, I love Bob. Bob's a great, great friend.
Oh, without a doubt.
And so, and you know what, the thing about people don't understand is when you are successful and you could still be as humble as the day you started, you are always going to be successful.
Well,
in
that's the
one way
bottom
or
line.
another, because in your brain, in your mind, you've already made it to the point where other people haven't even made it, and they can't even figure out why you're successful.
Well, you know, versus the person who, and you've heard this, Gino, you know, oh yeah, he's a great guy. Just ask him. Well, you know, those people, there are those people, and the world has a place for those people, and that's fine too. But you know what? After they're done doing what they do and being on top of their little heap, 5-10 years later, where are they? oftentimes nowhere to be found. Sometimes they still are, but oftentimes nowhere to be found, whether they're doctors, lawyers, Indian chiefs, or broadcast professionals. I'm happy once again to be affiliated with decent people like yourself and like Big Bob, you know, and we're happy to steer people to memorylaneshow.com or ezhelp.org or iHeartRadio, and then, you know, search for Hamilton Radio Oldies, and bingo, we'll be right there. And just listen all you like, because you'll get Bob, you know, Big Bob's Memory Lane Show. You get all the good stuff. You get the overnight program with Frank Todd. I mean, holy fright, how can you go wrong? How can you go wrong? Answer, you can't.
But Big Bob, if you guys got any questions and you want me to
Yeah.
forward anything to Big Bob, just let me know through admin, ADMIN, admin at hamiltonradio.net, and I'll get it to Big Bob, either if it's a question,
Yeah.
or if you're interested in carrying his show, or you want to just know more about what his show's about and how you can get in the chat room, we'll send you the information. Thanks
Go
again.
right to the source of those who know. Those who know. Gino, right up above me here. I don't know how you're seeing him, but he's right over me. You know, get a hold of those who know. We'll put you in the know. Huh?
Thank you, buddy. Thanks for being here. I hope you enjoyed it. Again, I did.
Thanks, Gino. Thanks, everybody. Enjoy your day. And, you know, we'll catch you again. The Docg. Yeah, take two. And we'll catch you again. I love live radio. Catch you again with Docg and John T Presents. You never know who's going to show up.
All the mistakes and everything. Have a great day, everybody. Thanks for being here. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Okay.